We're good to go, Corey? Okay. Time is 6 o'clock. This brings to order the January 14th meeting of the Granite Falls School Board. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to hand it over to Violet Bryant for the land acknowledgement.
We honor the first peoples of these lands by acknowledging the area in which we gather is within the traditional territory of the Still-Squamish tribe of Indians. The Still-Squamish people have inhabited these lands and waters since time immemorial, and their descendants have remained within this territory to this day. The Still-Squamish people have continued to practice the traditional ways of their ancestors of fishing, hunting, and gathering. The Still-Squamish tribe has had these lands and cultural traditions passed on to them by their ancestors, who believe everything has a spirit and they are caretakers of these lands and waters.
Thank you very much. Okay, roll call tonight. We've got Director Farley, Director Thanagas, Director Beach, Director Dane, myself, Director Ledoux, and Dr. Giesland. Then we have Violet, Lorraine, and Jalen. Pronounce everything right? How do I?
Leah Rain.
Leah Rain. Okay, Leah Rain. Okay, I'll try my best to remember, but thank you all for jumping in. Okay, and now we'll go into board comments as well. And we'll come back to you. We'll have the board go. And then if you have comments, we would love to welcome them, but I'll give you some time to put your thoughts together if there's any comments that you wanted to share. Director Farley, any comments for this week?
I enjoyed our meeting this morning. As I've said, I'm getting to learn, and it was another opportunity to get some information, figure things out.
I enjoyed very much, and I'm sure other people will talk about this too, but the dedication at the fire station and the uncoupling of the hoses was pretty fun. And it's just an amazing building, and I'm just so proud for Granite Falls to have that facility, and it definitely is needed. And just seeing the potential for growth there, and anyway, just lots of potential. The Granite Falls Community Coalition had a Feeding Futures event this last Friday, and our community is an amazing community, and they have just stepped up 1,000% to support our food bank and our coalition, and I just can't say enough about that. And then, just in case anyone would like to volunteer, we have a point in time count of homelessness that's coming up on January 27th. And if you're interested, you can contact me. What we do is we collect data with people who are facing housing challenges and are housing insecure, and then also provide them with resources, warm food, socks, backpacks, all kinds of great supplies that we have for them. And I'm looking forward. I've been invited to go to the Martin Luther King Assembly tomorrow to Monte Cristo, and I'm looking forward to that.
Let's see. I spent a little time volunteering this week with the community, just providing some information about the upcoming levy, and then we had a board study session right before this meeting, just about our board and how we rated ourselves from last year and how we plan to move forward. We definitely need more time. We're looking, that'll be scheduled at the first meeting in February, before the first meeting in February. So we're kind of moving forward. That's it.
Okay. Well, I hope that everybody had an amazing break over the holidays. I will, kind of echo Carol about the amazing community we have. We had programs from the fire department, helping out people in need from the school district, from the community coalition, and it takes the entire community to come out and support these programs so we can support those people who are in distress or in need at this time. I mean, it's difficult when you look at the present state of the economy, to just sometimes get by day to day. The cost of eating has gone, through the roof. People are definitely struggling, and to have community organizations working out there, it fills my heart. And I'm glad to get back to work. We've got a new board, pretty much. Even Director Ledoux is essentially new, just reelected to his position. Yeah. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us, and I'm excited to continue to work on raising our expectations for our students, getting student outcomes high. What I want to see from this school district, and it's been since I put in my first letter of interest to get on this board, was to create a situation where people were excited to be in the Granite Falls School District. I kind of focused on getting away from statements that I've heard in the past, and I've been in this community for a long time, almost 45 years, and I've heard a lot of people say this is just Granite Falls, and I just, that upsets me, because I wanted to say that we are Granite Falls and we are better than what people think we are, and I think we can achieve more. And I think by being a part of this school board, we can do that. We have a great administration. We've moved forward from where it was when I started. I look forward to seeing where we are in a year, 2 years, 3 years, because I know that we can do better. We're doing better every year, and we're going to keep doing better. So sorry about long-windedness.
No worries. No worries. Yeah, I mean, from my side, definitely, welcome everybody back. I'm sure the students are absolutely thrilled, to jump back into school. But you're over that first. It's not really the first half of the year, but it's the first hump and the large break here. I will say, and then congratulations to the students too for winning the basketball game against the staff.
That's right.
I don't know. I played in it one year, and I can't recall all the other years, but I don't. Has the staff ever won? They were close.
Yeah.
I mean, I do play basketball with Mr. Johnson, and I know he.
We even have Brockman.
Okay. Something's fishy. But no, I think that's a super fun tradition, and I love hearing about that. And then this has nothing to do with the school district or anything, but it has to do with where we live. Over the past probably 10 months, I've just made it a mission of mine to at least once a week, I'll go up the loop and I'll go find some trail to go hike. And I tell you what, we have a vitamin out here. Nature is a vitamin to go and hike. Even during the winter, right? The gates closed, but I won't go out there, but Lake 22, Heather Lake. It's a fantastic way to spend a Saturday morning. Just get out there and just disconnect. You have no cell phone service, which can be dangerous, but it's actually very refreshing to be in a place where you can't be contacted yourself. And so I'm just reiterating my love for Granite Falls and the area and being able to actually get outdoors and explore and stuff. So strange comment, I know, but I had to share the love because we live in an amazing place. Okay, Jadalyn.
I like the connections with Dr. Keeper, and we do the morning or the afternoon meetings. These are pretty fun. And then BOTC, we just voted for our theme, which is very interesting. It's Princess Bride.
Okay. Love it. As you wish.
I hope a lot of people join this year because it's a really good thing to connect and engage with our classmates.
Nice. Great. Leah Ring.
She's said most of it, but the same with BOTC, I think is a really great opportunity for students to connect and having a friendly battle from the teachers and everything and the classmates. And then also Dr. Giesland with mornings, because I was very hungry this morning, not gonna lie, and she brought food and let us introduce the topics we're talking about today. So it was very helpful.
Thank you. Violet, anything from your side?
Yeah, there's a basketball game tonight, and I'm not sure when the next basketball game is, but there's like one probably going on every week. So that'll be good if people go to the games.
Right. The funny thing, the battle of the classes, when I was going through high school, it was always rigged so the seniors would win.
It's still rigged.
But the one that I was in was at my lunch period. They gave you a full-size bottle of strawberry Nesquik syrup. So just the like sugary syrup that you go in the mix. And they had freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. I was the junior, and they had you stand up there and chug it. And I actually still won that competition, even though the seniors only had half in their bottle. Needless to say, my stomach was not happy the rest of the day. So I hope we're not doing anything like that, because that was not, I think I probably became diabetic just from that.
I would do more like hungry hippo
Oh, yeah.
people.
No, that's good.
Yeah, I did. Very embarrassing.
Good stuff. Well, no, really appreciate it. Okay, 3B superintendent report presented by Dr. Giesler.
All right. We have some slides that are a slide that we'll go through. But this last weekend, something that's not on there, Tanya and I were both at the legislative conference down in SeaTac. So WASA is doing the legislative conference a little bit different. Usually it's at the end of the month, but they've separated it a little bit more and are asking districts to kind of get their legislative priorities. We're in the middle of a biennium, of course, with the state budget. And the big three, continue to be on the top of mind for all the districts in Washington state. Again, transportation, MSOCs, and special education funding. That said, there are some conversations to be had around some other things that may not have as many dollars tied directly to them, but there are things around public records requests and some other things that are cumbersome at best for districts. So we will be working, when I say we, Tanya and I probably will be working with our legislators to maybe craft some language and put it out there. Like, could we make some moves? Because what's happening, especially in small districts, is the public records request, and we want to be transparent always. But the way the law reads right now is incredibly antiquated. And I don't think people anticipated that there would be as many records as there are. A stat that was brought out this is a stat from 2012, that every 2 days, more records were being created than from before 2000 to the beginning of time. And it just is you can't even wrap your head around how many records that is, but it's just because of electronic, because of all the things. And it's so easy to share information now. So we have lots of records in the district. We do want to be transparent. We want it to be easy for people to ask us if they want public records, but we don't want to have the financial burden if something is missed. We want to make sure they get to the right person. So some work to be done on that. On Monday, I was in the La Center School District, which is a district of similar size to us, a little bit smaller, down in Southwest Washington. It's an arrangement that I had made through the superintendent there. They have similar CTE programming, and the next step will be having JVJ, who is our CTE coordinator, and probably Ryan Pike and maybe Emily go down and see some of the things they're doing. They have fully increased, doubled their AP offerings, and then their CT offerings are kind of off the charts. And the work that they're doing and partnering to get more space for increasing those programs is really something I think that we could do. So we want to offer more programs and ways for our kids to access their learning. To the superintendent report, it'll be a couple slides, Corey. Thank you. Just some quick updates on facilities and safety. Director Cruz will be giving you an update on the testing of our water and the mitigation strategies that we will be doing to address that, and the grant that we were able to access. Grounds and maintenance, we have a very small but mighty team, but one person is out. And so it makes it that half of our maintenance staff is out of the district. So we are maintaining, but there's not a lot of new projects that will be able to be started until we get people back from leave. New lighting at Granite Falls Middle School. If you've been at Granite Falls Middle School in the early morning or the late evening, you know how dark it is. Carol, I'm sure you do know how dark it is. So there's some new lighting going in pretty much around the whole building, and we're excited about that. We know that lights create safe spaces and people can see as they're going out to cars, as buses are dropping off in the morning. You know, buses drop off very early and it's dark out there. We have some lighting, but this will increase a ton. A couple of roof patches at Granite Falls High School. There was some leaks that were found, and that's why we have those dollars set aside in capital projects so that we can address these things as they come up. And so we thank our voters for passing the levy so that we can set aside those funds to do that. And then we had some boiler issues once again in this building. If you were here, I'm looking at Director Beach, she and I had a meeting. We're like, it's really cold in this office. So we've worked on that, and that boiler's been repaired again, but some of the HVAC issues across the system, continue to be a concern. And then we do have that technology and capital levy, and then the EPNO levy on February 10th. And we are doing a roadshow and giving the information out to everyone that we can. Thank you to the coalition for hosting us. They were our first, and then we got some feedback, so we made some changes and those kind of things. And I'll share that roadshow with the board, but we just, from the district's perspective, it's just the information. And then a committee does any of the other campaigning on yes or no. But from the district's perspective, we just want our voters to know what the levy is. All right, next slide. So I was in a meeting yesterday with all the superintendents across the state, led by State Superintendent Reichdahl. And some of the reports that are done for every district on the district report card, and you can see the little trajectory here on the very nice picture of everything from pre-kindergarten learning all the way up to high school graduation, and some of the things that are measured and where we are as a school district. For Granite Falls School District, if you could go to the next slide, Corey. Thank you. It's a little bit small, so it's hard to see, but there is some data there that we want to share out. One area of huge celebration is in our preschool programs and kindergarten readiness. We are close to the state average. And if you go to the next slide, there's Tani made an infographic that's a little bit easier to read, but in Kinder Ready, which means all 6 domains, we were at 51.7%. The state average is 55.3%. We want to continue to increase that, but that is access. That is our kids having access to early learning opportunities and then being ready for kinder. And when we were in our study session, we were talking about this a little bit, and Director Panegas just hit the nail on the head. If kids are ready for kinder, they tend to do well long term. So that was exciting. The other area is 9th grade on track. That is something that we want to, of course, increase our CTE offerings so that we see the data there that our students do better if they have CTE classes to being on track to graduate. All of these are areas of growth for us. Dual credit participation, we're well below the state average there. Graduation rates in 4 years, we're about 10% below the state average, so we'll continue to focus on that. We do not have a dual language program right now, and that is something that, if it is the will of the board, and I know that there's some information put out by OSPI encouraging districts to move in that way. I believe that Superintendent Reichdahl and lawmakers have asked for districts to have a plan for that by 2030. What that means is that you implement and you start in kindergarten and you offer a dual language program in another language. Here it would probably be Spanish. And then kids have their education taught in both languages, and the evidence of the end result in districts who have kids now that are in college and did dual language programs since kindergarten is that they are fluent. They're scoring 5s on AP tests. They've been so exposed, because we know language access when you're little, when your brain is a sponge, is much easier than language access when you have your first Spanish class in high school or something like that. So we have some work to do. We'll use this data to drive that next work, and that includes board goals, superintendent goals, cabinet goals, and our SIP plans. And teaching and learning updates. Speaking of how we get to those things, Executive Director Moore.
Lovely to see you. Just a couple of updates for us. Our assessment windows opened up this week, actually Monday, January 12th. So students are completing the wellness screener that we do 3 times a year, which is great. It gives us great information to wrap around students and support them in the same way that we need support during the cloudy, during certain times of the year. Also, for iReady and MAP assessment, we are collecting that winter benchmark data. That window closes on the 23rd of January. And along with that, buildings are working with that data and their progress so far in completing mid-year school improvement reflection processes that are required by OSPI. So teachers are in deep conversation about school improvement at this time. So go Tigers, and kids, we really want you to focus and do the very best that you can do. Beginning next week on Tuesday in the morning, we will be devoting some of our time for district leadership team to go into buildings and visit. This is a really important opportunity for professional learning for our district leadership team, our building admin, and to collaborate around problems of practice and work around instructional leadership and instruction in the classroom. So we will be conducting those school visits once a month, starting here in January with our first visit actually at Mountain Way Elementary School. So we're very excited about that. And just so that you know, those school visits are aligned to school improvement. So in my office, all of the work that we do is about school improvement, whether that's instruction, curriculum, student wellness, all those things. So that's our focus, and we're excited to do that work. Around school funding, Crossroads and Open Doors over the winter break, they received their package of OSSI funds, which is really wonderful news because they have a robust spending plan that their leadership team has worked on, and they will be working on purchasing some supplies with those funds to help continue to wrap around students and do some more intervention work. And I'm very, very excited and proud that Crossroads High School has been working on looking at their assessment data and providing some supports for their students in very, very meticulous and methodical and intentional ways. So that funding took us a little bit to get there because the requirements have become more stringent at the state level, but this is really great news for us there. This week, our LEA program review is starting, and that is something where each district in the state is periodically selected for review, and we are selected this year. So we will be spending the next 6 weeks putting together, basically answering questions and putting together some evidence to show how our program is operating in different pieces of programming. So it's our turn, and we're excited for that. If you have questions, please let us know.
That is formerly known as CPR.
Yes.
Consolidated Program Review. It is for all state and federal programs, with the exception of special education, because that has its own review cycle. It is, it's probably Executive Director Moore is probably downplaying it a little bit, how much work it is to pull together all the data. But the great thing about it is if there are pieces that we aren't compliant in, it allows us to get into compliance and know if there's new things or things that boxes we aren't ticking. We want to have the best possible service and follow all of the rules. And so more to come on that. And then there will be an exit. It's like an audit in a sense. And there will be an exit. And I would invite a board member or two to be a part of that exit. But we did have that intake meeting earlier this week.
What does LEA stand for? You told me it was
Local education agency. Yes. So district.
formerly CPR, which I didn't know either.
Formerly Consolidated Program Review. And now they've kind of changed their, maybe because of the CPR reference, I don't know. But it is a program review, and it's everything from, signage on, play fields that says, this is, drug-free, vape-free, smoke-free, those kind of things, everything from that to handbooks, to CT programs, to all of it. So if there's federal or state funds programmatically, they're going to be reviewed.
So we're excited for that. It's our turn. So here we go. We're very excited. Did I say that we're excited? The last two items that I have is I'm really proud of the work that we are engaging in with our secondary content teams. We're bringing together secondary social studies, science, math, and ELA, and really laying the groundwork for what an instructional calendar looks like. A good example of this, we're very interested in, you've heard me say this before, the arc of learning. The idea that you entered your grade level and you have Emily Moore as your history teacher, and you receive a certain content at a certain time of year. For instance, World War II study, right? We want to be certain that our students are receiving their World War II study when everybody else is doing their World War II study, so that if we have to move a student because maybe they need a health credit, or they need a different PE credit, or they need a different teacher, that they are receiving World War II study in time, and then they're not missing content because we're making those decisions about students and about the part of learning. So one small example, but we're getting together and working on pacing calendars, and it's really elevating that conversation around instruction, around teacher practice. And really, the next steps will be taking these calendars and having our expert teachers look at them and look for gaps and look for the map and find that place for students to receive the best instruction possible. And lastly, it is a K-12 campaign for this work. So we're bringing together an elementary advisory team that starts this month that will also be working on that work at the elementary level. And really broadly in that section, really working with our teachers to see that the work that I do today as a senior math teacher rests on the work that came before me for all the math instruction that happened before me, right? So really working with our teachers, and they're incredible, and the conversations are really rich. And so we're happy about that work. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to some district and community events. Tiger Cabinet is next Thursday. You are all welcome. Let Tani know if you're going to be there, so that we can either advertise it if there's more than 2 board members, or just welcome you. And the focus next Thursday will be our Tiger Cabinet members will be working with their building principals on some problems of practice and setting up some things in their own buildings. Noteworthy that it is the end of the first semester, so it actually is halfway through on January 23rd. We have MLK assemblies. I know Director Negus mentioned that across the district. I think most of them are on Friday. It looks like our schedule is kind of back to back to back. So we're excited to do that. And then winter sports are in full swing, season 3 at the middle school. And then, as was referenced by Violet, basketball, pep band is playing at the basketball games, and wrestling is going full swing. So there's just lots happening at our secondary schools. Really quickly, when is Battle of the Classes?
Some started now, but like the teachers were supposed to have a meeting Thursday, and then we technically could start decorating on Tuesday.
Next week.
Yes.
Okay. So if you haven't been to Battle of the Classes, you have to attend. It's just such a cool event. It's so fun. Looking forward to that. That's it for me.
Any questions?
No. Good report.
Okay, item 3C, business report presented by Marshall Cruz.
So the normal business report is in there, but it's also got a couple of slides updating the water testing that we did. And so there's nothing really exciting about the business report part of it. We're waiting for all of the revenue true ups to happen in January at the end of this month before we can give a good forecast for year end. We expect every one of the revenue true ups to be in our favor this year because our enrollment is different than budget, our special ed is different than budget, our transportation is different than budget. So the revenue is going to be higher than what we budgeted, and we know where our expenditures are. So it's just waiting for the revenue to get the good forecast for year end. And we should have that next business report should have the forecast for year end. I want to take, 5 minutes or so to talk about the lead testing that we did. And just as a reminder, there are 2 RCWs out there that require all school districts to test all water outlets by June 30th of 2026. And water outlets need to be tested include anything that can produce drinking water or can produce cooking water. You don't have to do toilet water. You don't have to do hand washing sink water. You don't have to do hose spigot water that you would use to water your ground. But if it's in a kitchen, it can be used for cooking something in. It can be used for drinking in some form or another. Even if it's not used for that, if it can be used for that, it needs to be tested. Every school district in Washington State and municipalities in Washington State have to test that. So during the 2-week period in the middle of October, we partnered with the Department of Health to test our schools. The person from the Department of Health that came out to test our schools, she had tested over 300 schools already. So most school districts have partnered with Department of Health. We could do a private contractor to test it. Department of Health obviously offered the service for free. So we got our place in line about 6 months ago, a year ago, for the Department of Health to come test us. And it is what most school districts do. Like this one person had tested over 300 schools by the time she got to us. So we tested middle of October. They inspected every outlet in our school district. Results came back over a 2-week period in mid-November. District-wide, they tested 289 outlets. It took them, we did the high school on a Saturday, because there's some rules around how long the fountain or the water spigot has to have not been used, and some rules around when it should have been used prior to testing also. So there's this window of it had to have not been used for 18 hours, but it should have been used at some point in that 18 to 24 hour period, or else the test data is going to be kind of wacky. But we're not supposed to run the water if that's not our normal practice. If our normal practice isn't to test a faucet every day, then we should not have tested. So we did everything correctly. So we had 75 come back with levels beyond 5 parts per billion of lead. 5 parts per billion is kind of considered the gold standard of water quality in the state of Washington. It's a metric set by the EPA. It's the requirement for bottled water. It's the requirement for municipal water systems. Getting below 5 parts per billion would be very difficult because the water coming into your system does not have to be below 5, can be at 5 parts per billion. Lots of reasons why there is lead in water. This isn't on my slides, but old pipes that were built before 1986 have a lot of lead in them. Pipes that use solder for their coupling system can have lead. Pipes that have a lot of brass, whatever reason, I didn't know this, but brass causes lead. And there's lead in the groundwater because of things that go on around in our world, which is lead in groundwater. So our target is to be below 5 parts per billion. Our action level is 15 parts per billion. So there's a little bit of a gray area of 5 to 15 parts per billion where they would like to see you address it, but come up with a plan, figure out how you can solve it, make it financially suitable, all of these things. So we had 75 that came back with above 5 parts per billion. The main ones were things that we have not used in 10 years. So when you have water sitting in pipes for 10 years, it's going to accumulate lead. And so what we should have done is turned off those systems that we haven't used in 10 years. So what we did for those, we immediately turned them off. We had 2 more that came in above 15 parts per billion that were used only for cleaning paintbrushes and stuff like that. So we had the choice to either turn them off or to put them down as for cleaning only. We just turned them off because they are very rarely used. Then we had about 63, 65 that came in really between 5 and 10 parts per billion. And those are the ones we need to address. So we contacted neighboring school districts. We contacted some pipe vendors that neighboring school districts have used. The optimum way to solve the problem is to replace the fixtures from the wall to where it dispenses the water. So the faucet, the spigot, the piping to the wall, that tends to solve the problem. So what we did is we immediately applied for a grant. There's a grant, the state offers a grant because every school district needs to do this. No school district can afford to do it. So we determined it was going to cost $70,000. We applied for a grant. Almost the next day, they approved the grant and said you can have the $70,000. They approved our plan. They approved our all of our things. So we are at the point now where we're going to order all the fixtures that we need. every school's a little different. Every fixture is a little different. So there's going to be a wide variety of fixtures that we have to order for replacement. We're going to try and make them common if we can so that they're easy to fix and replace down the road. But there's a little uniqueness to each school. But our next step is to order those parts, and we're able to actually hire a plumbing company to come out and do it. The state would fund that, so our guys don't have to spend a week of their time trying to find time to do that. They can come in. Hopefully we can target it over a winter break or a spring break, or so they can be here for the whole week and not disrupt schools. But very helpful that the state has a grant for this. And I think it's kind of a rubber stamp grant. I think they just had this money set aside for any school district that needs it. So once our repairs are complete, we have to have them come back and re-inspect it to ensure that it is around that 5 parts per billion or lower. And then we have to there's a formal template report that we would have to give to the board, have the board approve that what we did. The report has to show that the problem was solved, and then we have to send it back off to the health department and to OSPI to show that we solved the problem. And then we're required to retest every 5 years to make sure that nothing new popped up or that our existing fix works. In the meantime, our next step is they have a template for us to message families. So we need to message families. There's a template letter that all municipalities are required to use to message families that used our water, explaining to them our test results, what we're going to do to mitigate the problem, and our timeline for doing it. And I personally, with the age of both our elementary schools, was pleasantly surprised that there weren't a huge number of faucets that were in the 100 parts per billion or something, because you hear about that from old government buildings all the time because of just when they were built and what pipes were used. And you never know what pipes are used in the ground for the city because that infrastructure was built long before even the schools. So the results were actually, to me, pleasantly surprising. Questions? And I put a lot of words on this because I wanted it to kind of stand alone so that you can just kind of read the story. Anybody can read the story and not have to watch me present.
So can you just, the $70,000, are we fixing 65 faucets, 63 faucets, or all 75 faucets?
We're fixing 65. The 10 that we don't use, we actually don't use. They were pot fillers that is antiquated. So there's these ridiculous apparatus in the kitchens that are pot fillers, and they're these spider web of faucets that are used to fill these big old cauldrons that we no longer use that system for cooking food anymore. And it's just in there. I mean, ideally, it should be nice to take them out because they're taking a lot of space.
Right.
It should be nice to take them out and give them more room for the kitchens. But in the meantime, they're just decommissioned. And that was, I think, 8 out of the 10 were pot fillers in all the schools. I mean, every one of the pot fillers, because we haven't used them in 10 years, should have just been turned off, and then you would never have tested them.
Right. Okay. So we're gonna fix all 65 of them, and our
Anything
communication.
About 5 parts per billion, we're gonna fix.
So PUD, when they send something to me, when they do the water testing in my front yard once a month, about 20 samples. Anyway, they send just a postcard. So do we send a postcard? Can we send an email? Do they have
email?
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Just checking. That's all.
There's different requirements for well water too. I've learned a lot about.
There is a
I never
ton.
thought I would know.
So fun fact from the city of Granite Falls or Snohomish County PUD, I guess, for the well water, they take over 200 samples. They were out front of my house forever feeding my dogs biscuits, but yeah, they take a lot. They're very serious about that. They also train my dogs to bark at them because if my dogs bark, then they throw more biscuits. Anyway, side fact. That's all. But yes, we're glad we don't use a well.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? No?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 4A, items from the floor. Do we have anything?
No.
No? Okay. Quickly, 5, unfinished business, we have none. 6, new business, we have none. And 7, consent agenda. Any discussion within the consent agenda?
Is there any additions to it?
Yeah, are there any additions to the consent that aren't?
Yes, it is the personnel report that's attached up there. There's the personnel and then the additions. Why is it not?
Yeah, there was another.
Yeah,
Yeah, additions to consent agenda, but outside of that, is there anything that
No.
also hasn't been?
No.
Okay. So those were on there earlier today and everything, so.
yeah.
I just have a comment.
Okay.
I wasn't surprised to see it because I did know, but I just wanted to mention, I'm happy for him making the move. He's excited about it, but, anyway, I was a little sad to see Corey's resignation on there, and I just wanted to make comment of that. Because I've appreciated, but I've appreciated being neighbors with him for several years and all the support that and help that he gives us.
You will be very, we will miss him very, very much.
I would like to second Carol's comments. I think Corey's been, I don't know, it took me a while to realize that he was the same kid that used to sell me milk at Rite Aid 100 years ago. Right? So it's been a minute that we've been around and around working together. So I appreciate having you here, and I wish you well in your next step on the path.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
It means a lot.
Absolutely. We see you back there.
Yeah, really appreciate it. I hear it's Texas, right?
Texas is the plan.
Everything's bigger,
Exactly.
but,
And warmer.
but
Except the rent.
but also not more
Yeah,
expensive. I think up here, all the coastal areas seem to be the most expensive places to live now. So, well, no, really appreciate you and everything that you've done too. So, okay. So any other discussion for consent agenda? No? Okay. So with that, the consent agenda passes with unanimous consent. And the time is 6:41, and that will adjourn this meeting of the Ground Falls School Board.